Building bigger arms is simple, not easy. It doesn't require an endless amount of exercises in the gym, but it does require you to put in some hard training and to do so consistently for a long period of time. Arm growth doesn't happen overnight, but if you understand and apply a few basic principles over time, you can make dramatic changes to your small arms. The first thing you need to understand is the triceps specifically make up a large majority of your upper arm size, covering roughly 2/3 of the entire upper arm. So if you want massive arms that hug your shirt sleeves, make sure to prioritize your tricep training first. And even more so, make sure you're not making some of these very common mistakes in your training. The first one being the most common, and that is not loading the triceps heavily enough. The triceps are a very strong muscle, and they can be trained to lift some heavy weight. The next time you're in the gym or scrolling on social media, I want you to look around, and I bet you'll notice this. The people with the best triceps development in the gym are all some of the strongest pressers in the gym. They can likely close grip press some impressive weights, they can handle some heavy loads on extensions, and you'll see that there's generally a big correlation between tricep size and somebody's upper body strength. That's why I always promote heavy progressive training, even for the arms. So don't skip on heavy loading for those triceps, provided you're picking movements that are safe and comfortable on the elbows and shoulders. I hear it all the time that dips are the best tricep exercise, and I think it's an excellent movement if you can do it safely. But for me, I've always had some degree of shoulder discomfort when doing them. So in my case, I never do them anymore. And close grip bench press or decline dumbbell press with a neutral grip are my bread and butter pressing exercises for the triceps. If dips work great for you, great, but make sure you pick movements that you can progress on comfortably over time, or else you're not setting yourself up for long-term progression. The second reason for small triceps is very simple. Most people don't train them enough directly. I see people fall into one of two categories here. They either throw in a few sets of extensions at the end of a workout, or they only do compound lifts and think that's sufficient for triceps. Presses are excellent, but they should not be your only focus for tricep training. Close grip presses incorporate more triceps in your pressing, but keep in mind, the pecs and delts are also hit heavily on any press variation. And as a result, the triceps are not always the limiting factor on these exercises. Personally, I'm a very arm-dominant bodybuilder, and my tricep strength is very high relative to my chest pressing strength. When switching between close and wide grip benches, I can actually handle roughly the same weight. And most of my presses, whether close or wide grip, are not always limited to my tricep strength, but rather my chest and my delts. This makes isolation work for the triceps even more important for someone like me if my goal is bigger arms. And even if you don't fall into this category, the large majority of people training heavy compounds are not getting sufficient work done if their goal is to prioritize arm growth. My recommendation here has always been to load up heavy on presses, but add additional volume from extensions from multiple angles and larger rep ranges for full tricep development. An example would be to keep your presses a bit lower rep, like 5 to 10 reps, focusing on driving as much progress over time through increases in weight, load, reps, etc. But if your arm needs additional volume for growth, add in direct work in the form of press downs and extensions with higher rep ranges, going from 10 all the way up to 15 to 20. Arms are not as demanding on recovery as training legs, back, or other large muscle groups, and adding additional sets will increase the stimulus, but not necessarily dig into recovery to the same degree as heavy compounds will. Combine that with the fact that arms tend to recover much quicker, even from more sets than most other body parts, and it's not a bad idea to experiment with higher volumes and frequency for arm training until you get it right for you. But now that we covered the triceps, let's talk a bit more about biceps. Everyone in the gym wants bigger biceps, but not everyone in the gym trains like they want bigger biceps. Most people I see pick a light dumbbell, do a few sets of curls with overly strict form, and then they apply minimal intensity, and they call it a day. If you're struggling to build bigger biceps specifically, ask yourself if you're one of these people. And even if you're not, here are the main reasons why you might have small biceps and how to correct them. First reason is intensity. Most people assume that because biceps are a smaller muscle, exercises like curls are a lighter, easier exercise than bigger compound lifts like squats and deadlifts. And as a result, they train their biceps with minimal intensity. Now, while exercises like curls are easier to recover from than squats and deadlifts, you can apply the same level of intensity and effort to your curls that's required for heavy deadlifts. My best results to arm training have come not from fancy exercises or techniques, but rather applying that same level of intensity to bicep training as I do to heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, presses, and other compounds. The effectiveness of an exercise is not necessarily by how hard the exercise is to perform, but rather how hard you perform that movement. Think about that for a second. The second reason is just not prioritizing them. Most people train a bunch of exercises in the gym after being there close to an hour, and then they throw in a few light sets of curls in an already fatigued state. If you want one tip to take away from this video that you can apply to everything in bodybuilding, it's simply that whatever you train first in the session gets the most attention and will likely grow the most from your training. That's why prioritizing a muscle comes down to training it at a time when it can get the most attention. The key to bringing up any muscle group in general, and biceps specifically, is to prioritize them. Train them first in the workout when they're fresh, or train them on their own day. You can even train them with triceps or another small muscle group when you can dedicate a full session to them. If you're giving them their own time to dedicate full attention, intensity, and level of effort, you'll slowly see that the exact exercise you choose will now become less important than the way you perform those exercises. And if you want the exact programs that I personally recommend to build muscle using proven old school bodybuilding methods, all my old school mass gain programs can be found down below. And as always, if you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.